Yes. Okay, cool. Well, hello everyone. I threw an ardent plea out into the ether because Julie is out gallivanting about with Anne Lamott today. There's a big event with her tonight at Point Lemmon Nazarene University. So I said, Reps, please come because I don't want it to be just me. And they came. So
Hey, here
welcome
we
to
are.
everyone. Thank you. Yes, this is amazing. And let's just get right to it. So the order will be Shannon. Welcome back after a long hiatus, Shannon of Simon and Schuster. And then Julia, Gabe, Patricia also back. Thank you for being here of Princeton and Yale University Presses. Um, Andrea and Tom. So let's go. Please take it away, Shannon.
All right. I'm so excited to see everyone's faces. It has been a hiatus. I'm so sorry, but I'm back and there's so many good things coming out right now. It feels yeah, like a bevy of goodness everywhere I look. So first pick is a book I'm super excited about. It came out I want to say on April 2nd. It's called A Short Walk Through a Wide World. And it's the one thing I'm talking about that I don't have a copy of to show you, but it's a debut. It was an Indie Next selection for April. The author is Douglas Westerbeek, and he's a librarian, and I just have a soft spot for those librarians. But it's a lot of people, when we got pitched this in sales conference, they were comping it to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I have to admit that I've never read, but seems like such a thing that I would love. And it's so good. So the premise is it's about, it starts off in kind of Victorian England. It's, there's a girl, and she's, comes down with this affliction, like her body just starts to break down, and it seems that the only thing that's going to save her, or that helps her, is if she's moving, if she's walking. And so begins the journey of her lifelong, basically she's never able to stop. She can't be in a place for any longer than just a couple of days. And it's just, I don't want to give it too much away, but it's just full of adventure and action and romance, and these relationships that she makes with people along the way. And it's also because it's her whole life. You get all these glimpses of like history through time. It just kind of sprinkled in with a little magical realism and love of books. And it just has all the things. It was one of those books I didn't want it to end. I feel like the characters are going to live with me for forever and ever. And yeah, I'm such a big fan. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, Amanda, but yeah. So one of my very favorites on our spring list, A Short Walk Through a Wide World. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
There you are.
I'm nodding because we had a virtual event with Timothy Schaffert, who wrote The Perfume Thief, and his newest book is The Titanic Survivors Book Club.
Oh,
And his In Conversation partner mentioned a book she had just recently read, and it was that book.
oh,
And
yay.
she was gushing about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know who Stacy, you guys, the children, right? Stacy read it and loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
had a good long chat about it, but
good. Cool, thank you. Okay, Julia.
Okie doke. I've got a big one to start us off. David Baldacci has a new book, A Calamity of Souls. He sort of needs no introduction. Baldacci, of course, many people know him and love him and have read him. This one is really interesting because unlike some of his other books, it is very much it's a lot like a Grisham novel in a way. It takes place in the South in the 1960s. That's where David grew up. He grew up in Virginia in the 1960s. And it's about a Southern lawyer trying to defend a Black man against a crime he didn't commit. So it feels very much like some of those classic Grisham novels, like what was it, A Time to Kill was I think the big one. Um, but yeah, so Baldacci, if you like him, if you have enjoyed his books, this is definitely a great one to pick up. And maybe if you haven't read him much, this is a great start. And Warwick's has signed copies of this book, so they are at the store, and you should grab one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Gabe.
Came on me kind of quick. So I'm talking about a cookbook, my first presentation, Cook Simply, Live Fully by Yasmin Farr. Excuse me. Yasmin is a New York Times contributor. A lot of support from the New York Times we're going to get for this book, so you'll be seeing it around. And what's for dinner is the question that plagues every married couple and parents, and then we sort of figure it out. We all create strategies, but every once in a while you want to do something a little different. You get tired. I mean, I used to make like 6 things for my kids, because they just destroyed my love of cooking, and 3 of them were just changing the tortilla. So it's like, it gets kind of old. So you try to figure things out. And I think this book is terrific for some days you just come home beat or mentally exhausted, and you didn't go to the gym, or you didn't get your walk in, so you don't have that energy, and you just need to whip something up. Yasmin's got a recipe for you, a quick 15-20 minute. She calls them like lap recipes, coffee table recipes, and then dinner/entertainment recipes. So and if it's just you and the kids, you're at the bar, you're at the kitchen counter, whip something up, throw it at them, feed them. But it's all about generating taste, and generating taste quickly. And that's what she's got a great gift for. I think that is a gift that some cooks have. They know how to flavor food, and they can bring flavor out in a really quick amount of time, knowing what to use, what to do. So the book is that. It's also a little bit of a roadmap to help create a more intuitive cook, so that for somebody who's like my sister, doesn't have a lot of cooking, it didn't used to have a lot of cooking instincts. She could follow a recipe, but she's not one of those who would throw something together. But she could follow a recipe, but learning and reading, she's expanded her vision. So she does that. It's a little bit of a primer, and then it's interspersed with a handful of essays. And she's got a really light style, so it's really fun keeping up and doing the recipe, because it's very light. And then she's got a couple of fun essays in there on chicken dinners, and another one on polenta, and a couple others. So it's just a fun little book. Cookbook lovers, you want more than just a cookbook anymore. So yeah, there's recipes. We all know you get a cookbook, you use a couple, 3 recipes, maybe 4 recipes. That's why we have so many darn cookbooks in our houses. And that's it. So enjoy, check it out. Simple package, lovely package. I'm excited.
That's pretty clever to have the different levels of how much effort you're going to put into it. It's like the lap dinner, the coffee table dinner, or the actually at the dinner table. That's very clever.
At the dinner table.
Cool. Patricia, your turn.
Oh, we're having a good day for one of our big authors, Eric Klein. In 2014, Klein did the book 1177 BC, attributing the late Bronze Age collapse to systemic failure and a sort of a domino multiplier effect. We sold 200,000 of 1177 BC. It was reviewed today in the Wall Street Journal brilliantly, beginning with history is one sequel after another. And in After 1177 BC, Mr. Klein describes what happened next. He has a signature style. He mixes anthropology, classics, antiquity, climate change, archaeology, and as the review goes on to tell us, what did the dawning Iron Age do for us? Monotheism, coinage, innovations in ironworking, the Greek alphabet, the polis or city-state, and the origins of democracy in Athens, the nation-state in Jerusalem. So calling it an ingenious and endlessly fascinating book, an ancient lesson in the rediscovered value of resilience. This book got 3-starred reviews. It got starred Kirkus, starred Publishers Weekly, starred Library Journal. It's just coming in on the market. He's fun to read. It's armchair history. There's all kinds of unexpected information. Naturally, you'll need a flashback to the Bronze Age. And it's just thrilling to be embedded in antiquities, as I can say, having just looked at a lot of them on my vacation. And we have not one, but 2 books by Eric Klein this season. So I'm going to zip in with his other book. We did the famous book, 1177 BC, as a graphic novel or graphic non-novel, graphic nonfiction. It looks so terrific. It exceeded what I was expecting. It's heavier, it's bulkier, it feels great. It has fabulous images all the way through. If you want to be looking at sea peoples and garrulous hippos, if you want to follow, embed yourself deeply in this time period. Of course, it extends the age level for this. Our graphic artist is Glynis Fox. And again, we're getting some very, very nice early tribute to this. I'm starting to get reorders. I'm really thrilled to have a Graphic Works on our University Press list. Both of these are from Princeton.
How cool. What do they give an age range for the graphic version?
I don't think that we really talk about age range.
Okay.
I like to think that, you know, you can delve into books at all levels. This certainly is available as most, graphic works would be at a larger range of browsing, and people take different things away from a book that they're getting into.
Cool. Yeah, just curious. I don't see an age range at all on it, so awesome. Thank you. Andrea.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. 200,000 copies. That is really good work. Good work on that. Yeah, that's amazing. We have sold quite a few of the hardcover edition of this beautiful book, World of Wonders, by Amy Nezukumotato. It came out in hardcover in 2020, and the publisher, Milkweed Editions, just decided to leave it in hardcover for a while because it was selling like hotcakes. But it is nice to have this new trade paper edition. It's an expanded edition. It has 4 new essays, happily, and several new pieces of gorgeous art, which I'll just show you really quickly. That grace they're like, at the headings of each chapter. And it's just really like a beautiful, I hate to use this phrase, value added, but it is gorgeous. And we are very excited about this book. There's other supplemental information here and material. There's a reader's guide for book clubs and classrooms, which I really like, that there's a classroom friendly element to this volume. And then an excerpt from the Poets and Writers interview between the author and Ross Gay. So it's got a lot going for it. And then this, let me see. Okay. I don't know if you can see that, but there's got a nice little foil element to it, to the cover. And I just think that this is going to sell for a long time. There's going to be people picking this up, especially over the holidays, but it's just one of those books that's going to be on bookshelves for a while. And there are copies right now at Warwick's. So there you go.
Cool. I love Milkweed. They do such neat books.
They sure do. They're just a really, we love having them in our bag, as we reps say. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time. When did it first come out in hardcover?
In 2020.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning of the year, let me look. No, it was September of 2020.
Okay. That axolotl, so cute.
Yeah, I know.
What you got there, Gabe?
By Bite, her next book, coming April 30th.
Oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
wow.
Awesome. Yeah,
Cool.
I wish we had it, but
Yeah, I was gonna say this is
All right,
awkward.
do you want to say more, Andrea? Or
the allure of big advances that poor little milkweed just can't conjure up.
Oh, bummer. Because Milkweed is a non.
They're nonprofit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, bummer. But good for her.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom.
hi. A little over a year ago, we published Rick Rubin's Creative Act, which is now iconic. I mean, will sell forever. And so Penguin Press is back with a book that shares a lot with the Creative Act. And until I saw it a few weeks ago, I couldn't, I wish it is the Creative Act was gorgeous. This is more gorgeous. This is called The Work of Art, How Something Comes from Nothing by Adam Moss. So it's the same designer as the Creative Act. So it's gorgeous to hold and feel. So Adam Moss is a renowned editor. So he was at the New York Times. He's most famous for his work at New York Magazine for like from the early 2000s until the late 2019, I think. And so he's super connected to the world of artists, writers. And so he's drawing back the curtain on the creative process. He had the idea to go to it's more than 40 all different kinds of artists to look at one of their works, one of their pieces of art, and walk him through the process of how that came to be. And it's very visual. So he needed to have like something to tangible, like for writers to have manuscripts that they worked on and to see the changes. So he's gone to visual artists, musicians, writers. So some of the names are, I mean, it's a who's who. It's Tony Kushner, Michael Cunningham, Sophia Coppola, Stephen Sondheim, Twyla Tharp. The list goes on. David Simon, George Saunders, Susan Laurie Parks. But most exciting to me were the artists, and most of them were like visual artists that I don't know as much about. These were artists I'd never heard of, so I'm engaging with their work, completely fresh, and it blew my mind. So I'm just going to show you, like, the idea is, so here's Frank Gehry's drawing. So from this, how does this become this? So that gives you a sense of what he's trying to do. And I also love the title, like these are works of art, but this is about the work of art. So this is Gay Talese's most famous story is called, what was it called? Frank Sinatra Has a Cold, which has been one of the most influential pieces of new journalism. And so this is what he got from Gates. This is kind of the stuff Gay Talese was working on back in the 60s as he was writing this article. So you can see and then Talese walks him through like these scribbles, how it became this amazing story. And then this was the most surprising to me, at least, was like how a newspaper can become a work of art. So this was from May 24th, 2020, when the COVID deaths hit 100,000. The New York Times did this, which was kind of controversial but important and very visual. And the editors describe it. Dean Baquet was the editor at the time. They describe it as the way they thought of it as a Rothko, which I never, would never have imagined to think of. But he says, because Rothko was trying to do the impossible, he was trying to paint emotions. I actually thought that page was trying to portray a feeling. Nobody was going to read it name by name. It was like a Rothko, and the longer you look at a Rothko, the sadder you get. So this is the most thrilling book I've had the privilege of, and I sold it, but until I actually saw it, I had no idea how fantastic it is. So it's for anybody that's interested, if you are a creative, this is for you. If you're interested in creativity, like I adore any like the Beatles Get Back documentary, because it got you to the like it showed this creative moment. This is for you. So if you like that sort of thing, the work of art, it's a big, hefty art book essentially, but it's so inviting. There's nothing that would put you off at all. It's fantastic.
That's so cool. Yeah, sometimes those process books are terrifying because
Yeah.
like on one hand it's inspirational to see, you know, a scribble turned into that building, but then it's also can be very daunting. So the fact that you
know,
say it's not
Not at all. I mean, and there's
It's good.
he's got a fun touch. I mean, he was the editor of New York Magazine, so he's gonna have a very light touch that keeps you turning the pages. But it's absolutely brilliant, and I think it's it's not Rick Rubin, so it won't have the Rick Rubin effect, but there's gonna be a lot of people that love this book.
It looks like a good, you know, Mother's Day, Father's Day,
Yes.
graduation for
Oh,
sure
for
kind of
sure.
present.
For
Yeah.
sure, graduation. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
super
you. Kim is here today and said she was surprised at how much she got out of The Creative Act. It's an excellent meditative audiobook, as much as excellent advice. And also mentioned Kim just finished James, really thought-provoking, and The Morning Side. Such sweet, funny moments in a climate crisis novel, which is cool.
fun.
And going back to Shannon, Kim said when you were talking about the first book, you had me at Addie LaRue, which
Oh.
yeah, same. I'm going to be talking about a book briefly at the end, Kim, that I think you'll like, that I would also say is good for fans of Addie LaRue. So let's let Shannon take the second round away.
All right, switching gears. Rebecca Searle, this came out last month. This year, you guys, is it flying by faster than normal? I don't know. It's like on warp speed. But this came out in, I think, late March. It was an April Indie Next Pick. If you aren't, I hope everybody's familiar with Rebecca Searle. She's hit the New York Times list in 5 years and won Italian Summer. She's, I'm going to say, like realistic romance with just a dash of magical realism is how I would sum her up. And I don't read a lot of romance, but I've read all of the Rebecca Searles. I love her. So this one is, each one has been kind of an homage to a place. I feel like when she writes, she really, like the place that she's writing, you know, her story takes place in is just as much of a character as like any of the characters. In 5 years was set in New York, One Italian Summer, Italy. And this is a love letter to LA, which, you know, hello, we should all be fans of. But the premise in this is it's about a woman named Daphne, and her relationships are always kind of doomed because always before she meets a person, she gets a note. And on that note is the name of the person that she's about to embark on a relationship with and the date that will end. And that has so that has held true. So, you know, it's her quest for, or trying to outrun that. But she just writes this, you know, these realistic, fully, you know, drawn out characters that you want to spend time with and you root for. And she always does the best, like also family relationships, like her relationship with her parents is just the sweetest thing. So if you are like me and not even a huge romance reader, I think that you would definitely get something out of this, but also perfect. Like if you're starting to read build your beach reading, I think that she is perfect. And also I get a kick out of like anything that really puts you into LA, like the farmer's market and where she's going to get coffee and like the hiking, like, you know, she just draws that so crystal clear that you feel like you're dropped into it. And I love that. So there we go.
I was going to ask what the LA landmarks are. So farmers market among
Oh,
them.
definitely farmers market, lots of food. What's the they eat at the what's the hotel, the Beverly Hills Hotel, and And maybe it
The
is
Polo Lounge.
but like, you know, all over, like if you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
familiar with LA, you will know she
Yeah.
hits all the landmarks and and some like local stuff. So that's always a lot of fun.
We did a pre-order campaign too, and we might still have, if you order from us, there were some little enamel pins, so we might still have some if
Yeah, they're super cute. Little, they look like the cover of the book.
yeah, it's super cute. So if you're interested, let us know when you place the order and pretty sure we still have some. Okay, Julia.
Me.
You.
Okay, my next book is out in paperback tomorrow. It's called The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks Dalton. And it was an Indie Next pick. It was a Good Morning America book club. It got starred reviews in Booklist, Library Journal, Kirkus. And this one is what's really interesting about this book. It's funny, I gave it to my aunt for Christmas because it felt like she would love it, and then she was like, oh, I've read it and I loved it. So then my mom had to swap books for Christmas but that I gave them. But this is one that's like, it's a little bit like, it's like a near future book that it looks at climate change. Really, it takes place in Florida, and it's sort of about a Florida that is being drowned by water, and this family that is sort of trying to survive and trying to get through it. There's a touch of magical realism in this one actually also, and it's just it's a great book club book because it's really fun to talk about, but it also really looks at like sort of how people survive these different sort of apocalyptic like, or not even apocalyptic, because it's not like it wipes everything out at once. It's this like slow sort of creep of climate change. And I don't know, it's just a really great one. I think a lot of people who have read it have told me how much they loved it. Like I said, my aunt had already read it when I bought it for her and just absolutely adored it. And I think that it's one of those books that if you missed it in hardcover, now's a great time. Now that it's in paperback, is a great time to sort of revisit. So yeah.
Elizabeth is here and said it was great. Read it in hardcover already. So
Oh, good.
it's a good looking cover too.
Mm-hmm. Great package.
Gabe, it's your turn.
So I'm going to take you to a novel, Honey by Victor Lodato. Oh, I missed the R in Victor, sorry. Victor is an author who has won what does he won? He won like a PEN Faulkner, some sort of big literary award. He's a literary author who this is our first book with him. As I went around and sold his last book, everybody mentioned, excuse me, I dropped something. Everybody mentioned how much they liked his previous book. Yeah, he won a PEN USA award. And I can't remember what it was called. It'll come to me. Too many books in my head. But he is one of these writers who, he's like, no, you probably, no one here has probably ever heard of him. In spite of the great attention, this book was so much fun to read. So this is our character, Honey, Honey Facino. Honey is a daughter of a New Jersey business family. So you'd think Sopranos. So when she's 15, she gets raped by a fella, and her father throws her in the car, goes and picks up the guy, kills the guy, and gets rid of the body in front of her. That's her family. That's the kind of stuff that goes on in her house. So she is not that kind of person. She rebels against all that, and she goes away to college. She goes to Bryn Mawr. She goes to work for art houses and creates a whole persona completely separate from her crime mobby family. And she goes through life just like that very well. But then at 82, for some reason, I guess you got to go and see what's going on at home, see if anything's changed. She decides to go home, fulfilling the prophecy that her father had said, "You're going to come back." And at 82, she goes back, and life is pretty much the same for her family. She's got a grandnephew who is been kicked out of the family. It turns out that he's transitioning. So she takes him under her wing, but the family rejects him completely because that just doesn't happen in mob families and Italian families. And and they have a lovely relationship. It is such a sweet book, but it's not saccharinely sweet. It is such a joy to read this book, and it's such fun to read Lodato. He's a really, really strong writer. He brings us really good character, and he brings a really gift for storytelling. And it is a book that is heartwarming because the characters that he develops. And I hope, I don't know that it's, people are going to run to it. But I hope that, people do check it out. And I hope that we can sell just enough so we could, if we don't sell a bunch, just enough so we could set it up for a nice paperback sale. Because it's a great book club book. It's a good book to give to your grandmother. It's a great book to give to anybody. It's such a heartwarming character. And it reminded me a little bit of We All Want Impossible Things in the sort of the universality of the audience that you could give it to. That book was two women friends, one dealing with cancer and one was survivor's guilt. But it's such a beautiful little 270 pages, 240 pages. I think this is for the same reader.
The blurbs on this one are pretty outstanding. Mona Awad gave it a really good blurb, and Javier Zamora, the author of Solito, which was a big Warwick's book, Wally Lamb. So yeah, it looks like it's got a lot going on.
Yeah, no, he's a talent. He really is a talent who I'd never heard of him, and I want to go back and read the previous book. I think some people have said what's the comp? I've been a couple of real I can't remember the comp. I read a couple of different things, and one comped to Anti-Mame, and another person comped it to Graham Greene's Travels with My Aunt character. So there's something kind of classically laden in Honey here.
Cool.
Just saying.
Thank you. Patricia.
We're going to look at something I've been waiting for some time from Princeton. I knew about this book, I don't know, a year ago or so when we started to talk about having it. It was in German. This is all about the images. It's called The Ant Collective. This is by Armin Schieb. I went to his site in German long ago, so I looked at the book in German. I'm thrilled to have it now in English. He was working in infographics, essentially. This is an incredibly exaggerated book of 3D computer-generated imagery that gives you kind of the archetypal ant colony. It is specifically a redwood ant colony. Everything you look at in this book is so fantastic. You just can't believe it. It's full of just exciting and exquisite images. It goes over anatomy, architecture of nests, the development of the ant trail, all of the environment and animals. It's full of excitement and allure. It's as if you're inside a diorama. This picture I was thinking about, it won't register for you very well without a full screen, but there's a giant redbird here looming in. It is a picture of ants' enemies. And just today on Instagram, I saw Margaret Rankle posted redbirds and a huge ant colony. So this is her book. It just gets better and better. Let me see if I can find that warthog. Here, a warthog coming in on the larvae and ripping it apart. So we had the question earlier, like, what is the age level of your books? One of the wonderful things I think about university press, about nonfiction, about books with too much information is that the age level might be anywhere. And I have to tell a story here of my son, now of course fully grown, who had a report to write on ants when he was about 10. And that was at the era when I had my first computer. If you remember the computers that came in the cow box with the black and white box, and it had a built-in Funk and Wagnalls encyclopedia, which was truly pathetic. So he's writing his report. It was so sad. And I said, no, you need to look at E.O. Wilson's Ant book, the giant Harvard book, which I was then selling. And he was thrilled and, of course, dug deeply. This is that kind of book. Anybody would get absorbed. You'd have a huge and wonderful time carrying on with this with children of virtually any age. I could picture this with my very youngest granddaughter who likes to look at, YouTubes of bizarre animals, as well as someone very sophisticated about ants. So The Ant Collective, translated from the German.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool art.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Ants. I love that you handed your 10-year-old E.O. Wilson book. That's great.
Yeah, he liked it.
Thank you. Andrea's turn.
Thank you. Seeing that it is National Poetry Month, I'm trying to have at least one volume of poems to talk about during tea time. And this week it's The Orange and Other Poems by Wendy Cope. She's on the Faber and Faber list, one of our storied publishers from England. And this is a great introduction to Wendy Cope. If you don't know her work, she is beloved and very popular in England. She's one of Britain's best-selling poets as well. So, as I say, this is a great introduction to her work. I really like that cover. It's easy to pick up when you see it on a shelf. Faber has been receiving thousands of queries about this book on all of their social media sites. People are calling the offices. It's a little crazy. And so we expect to do very well with this book here as well. This is what the Sunday Times says, the Sunday London Times. Wendy Cope's readership, numerous and adoring, is the envy of most poets. Cope's real strengths lie not in charm or insight, she has buckets of both, but in the pitch-perfect exactitude of her writing. So there you go, Wendy Cope, who practices exactitude in her poetry. That's a $14 hardcover. It's a sweet little format.
Oh, hardcover, $14?
Yep.
How neat.
Yep.
Yeah, great art.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think I saw a lot about it. I wondered why that was in my feed this morning. I'm like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
So
she's got a lot of fans.
Is this her first book?
No.
Okay.
But this is a good intro for sure for this audience. She's not as well known here. So
cool. Check her out. Okay, back to Tom.
And that price is wild.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. My next book is The Spoiled Heart by Sanjeev Sahota. So I was a big fan of his last book, China Room. And so, he's just one of those writers that he's one of our very best writers. And we're going to just keep publishing him until the world takes notice. I mean, he's been shortlisted for the Booker and longlisted for the Booker. It's just that the books just haven't taken off like they should. We've all seen this. So this is his fourth novel, and it's the first one. He's British, but his grandparents are from India. So he's done books set like China Room was set both in working class England and the Punjab in India. This is his first book set entirely in the UK and England. In the small industrial city in central England that he's from. So the main character is Nyan, who's a middle-aged factory worker who has, been very resilient in his life. He's lost his child to fire. But here he is, he's survived, and into the city comes a woman who he's falling in love with. There are secrets here that are slowly unveiled. At the same time, he's running for the leadership of the union at the factory where he works. And he's a man of, like I said, he's middle-aged, so he sees the world differently than some of the younger workers do. So the person running against him is a young woman named Mega, who is from not a working class background, a more privileged background, but she's more about identity politics. He's more with class solidarity. So it's about that a lot of this book is about that these two ideas of the left rubbing against each other. So it's a really tightly plotted, fascinating book about these characters, but at the same time, there are big ideas here that feel very of the moment. It's really a good novel. So the New York Times today just published their review, and they say, there is an easeful precision to Sahoda's prose, reminiscent of Camilla Shamsi and Jhumpa Lahiri, a painful irony that evokes Percival Everett, and a grand human downfall alongside a battle of ideas that is Ibsen-esque. So Ibsen, Percival Everett, Lahiri, and Shamsi, those are great comps. So we should all be paying attention to The Spoiled Heart. It's really interesting. And you don't get books about labor and the class struggle, novels like that these days, I feel like.
China Room, I think, did you talk about that early on in Tea Time?
Sure. Yeah. Very early. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how long we've
Gosh.
been doing Tea Time.
Yes.
And that was long listed for the Booker, I think.
Uh-huh. Great.
Well, yeah,
thank you.
it's great, buddy.
Okay, so lightning round. But I mean, take your time. So Shannon.
Take your time, but hurry up.
It feels like we're keeping a good clip today.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Okay, for my lightning round, I have yay, I'm so glad I saw clapping. The Age of Magical Overthinking, Notes on Modern Irrationality by Amanda Montell. And this came out, I believe it was last week. People are so excited about it. You might know her from her first book called Word Slut, or her next book was a big kind of breakout, Cultish. And I want to say this is kind of like a blend of cultural criticism, social science, and memoir. It's about our cognitive biases and how that is like deeply at odds with the internet age and the constant stream of information that we are seeing or ingesting all the time. So she's just so stinking smart, guys. And it's deeply funny. So I just feel like it's the kind of thing that everyone should read and everyone could get something out of, and you can also just dip into and out of. But yeah, it's broken up into chapters, and some of them they crack, it's like what it's like to die online, a note on survivorship bias. Or there's a whole chapter on Are You Our Mother, Taylor Swift, a note on the halo effect and like how celebrities are like, we are latching onto them as like our new, gods or people to worship. So yeah, I think that there's just something, and everybody can take out in this gorgeous, gorgeous package. I haven't seen it in person yet, but that's Amanda Montell, and out last week.
I loved the blurb on this one from Mary Roach, who I just love her. And she said, rarely have so few pages explained so much so entertainingly, which is very, very compelling to me because I have a short attention span these days, but I do still like depth.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like one of those cultural voices that we should all be listening to, like really kind of gets to the heart of it, and reading her, you're like, oh yes, got it. Like everything makes so much more sense now.
Good. Awesome. Okay, Julia.
All right. Also, speaking of big cultural things, if anyone cares, Caitlin Clark just got drafted #1 to the Indiana Fever.
What a surprise.
So
love it.
that's my
Also,
report on that.
Also, I saw that she was wearing Prada today. Did you see all that?
I
Like
did.
they said it was the first basketball player, man or woman, to wear Prada.
I
What?
mean,
Right?
I know, an icon.
The checks are
Um,
already rolling
my-
in for Caitlin Clark.
So, my book, this is sort of just like
Flip card.
it's in a way a book about grief, but it is a delightful book about grief, about this cat, Masha the half wild rescue cat. This is called My Beloved Monster. Caleb Carr is a New York Times bestselling author. His most famous book is probably The Alienist. That was made into a television show and, came out in the 90s, or no, in the early
Like the
aughts, I
90s.
think. Maybe the 90s. I can't remember. The early aughts. Anyway, but this is about his cat. You can see these great pictures of Masha. Just a delight. And this cat was like
Oh.
half wild. She let me get you the actual kind of cat she is. She is a Siberian forest cat who lived with Caleb for 17 years. She fought off a bear at one point. She tackled him like a linebacker at one point. But it's really a book about the bond of Caleb and this cat, and sort of his grief over eventually losing her after 17 years. It's a delightful book. He was on, I think, CBS this
I
weekend
saw that.
talking about it. Yeah.
I'm not at all a cat person at all. But I was like, maybe I need to read this book. That was the most amazing selling piece. It was fantastic.
Yeah. It's a really like, I think it's a really wonderful book. If you are a cat person, it's definitely for you. And maybe even if you're not a cat person, it's a way. I know I feel like I've joked on here before that like I'm selling a lot of grief books. And I feel like this one is one that maybe allows you to access some parts of grief that in a way that maybe is a little different than some other books on grieving. But a really beautiful book about a beautiful cat. And so that's that.
I also love any author that they talked about how he was supposed to be working, I guess, maybe on another Alienist book, and he meets with his agent and his editor. He's like, I don't have that. I have this other thing.
I have to write. I wrote about my cat.
Yeah. I'm a dog person, as you can hear. Sorry.
Yeah.
Father is talking about cats. Oh man. Okay, I'm tearing up just looking at that. It's awesome. Beautiful cat.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big cat person, so I love an asshole cat. My favorite kind.
I put the CBS News interview in the comments if anyone wants to look at that. Okay.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah. Gabe.
I don't trust cats.
Yeah, they think too hard and they see through your BS.
Like I have any of that.
It's everyone, Gabe, not just you.
My final book, Briefly Perfectly Human. Alua Arthur is our author. She's the death doula. Alua worked as a lawyer. She was one of those lawyers who went to work for the people, and she got kind of burnt out and she got kind of depressed. And then she met someone and that shifted her path a little bit to dealing as a lawyer. You deal, and anybody who's lost anybody, there's a lot of paperwork involved. So you begin by doing that. And she has morphed into this really lovely human being who is here to help people get to their end time. So her official title, she's a death doula. She guides you on the way out. And it's a really interesting book. I think it's an important book. I think generations prior to ours had a view of death and they were very afraid of death. I think our generation, we're not so much afraid of death as we are of like the quality of our dying. I don't think we have this And once upon a time, religion filled this gap, and as more and more people are becoming secular, and there's fewer true believers out there, there is something's got to supplant that. Something's got to take hold of that. It's the family. The system's already in place, and it's the family. But she guides you through. It's for the person who's leaving, and it's also for everybody around you. So this is a book I recommend to anybody if you've got elderly parents, even if you don't. And you want to catch up with your mortality if you're, hitting your 60s and you're starting to think about that, what's coming. Yeah, get your stuff in order. There's all that kind of stuff, advice in there, but it's also, everybody grieves differently. So the family member is going to grieve differently than the person who's dying, and every family member has got their own journey. Don't force your opinions on people. Try to understand what everybody's going through. It's a very holistic view of the circle of life, and she does a terrific. She's a great voice. Check her out. She's got a TED Talk. She's been on a ton of podcasts. Britt Bennett, things like that. She's been on PBS NewsHour. She's gotten a lot of attention, and I think because she's such a unique voice. And I think this is a world that it's going to expand. I think there's more and more a place in our society for books like this. And I think I've had people pass recently, and the manner of them leaving has been a lot different than what I remember as a kid, and going to funerals and the grieving process, and people being around and sitting through things, and going through the whole act with people. It's just been terrific way to send people off. So I just think her message is terrific, and it's time for something like this.
Yeah, I'm not in my 60s, but I think the younger, it shouldn't be seen as morbid to think about this. Like, the younger, the better, so that you can
Be ready.
get on with living. I put the TED Talk link in the comments if anyone wants to watch it. Thank you. That looks like a beautiful book. Important
book.
Yeah. Okay, Patricia, your last book.
Just something lovely for the spring, for Mother's Day, for cottage gardens, and from our very British side of Yale University Press. It's called The Herbal Year, Folklore, History, and Remedies. Christina Hart Davies is a very well-established botanical illustrator and herbalist. She ranges over a lot of thinking, draws on Renaissance herbals, ancient thinking, modern ideas, a little bit of recipes, some lavender rubs, some elderberry. The book is very pretty. It has beautiful end papers.
Wow.
I love a book that has a ribbon, and this does indeed have a ribbon. It's illustrated all through. It's set up seasonally, and the sections for each season are very attractive. Here's that ribbon. Well promised. It has a bibliography. We were amused when this was first presented to us at sales conference. This was from of course, the British side, and it was called A Herbal Year. I had to send a note of alarm, possibly hives, that we really could not sell this book in the U.S. as a herbal year. We had to be able to approach the H in our own way, and I begged them to call it the herbal year. But we can say it any way we want. I think it's extremely well priced. It's utterly lovely. It's just coming out on the market. It's gotten some beautiful British review already, where she's well known. I think it travels well, even in San Diego, a very different climate from London, and yet there's a love of the cottage garden, the overflowing, the herbal feeling, the sachet, the lavender, and this has all that.
Gorgeous. Yeah, I feel like in San Diego, a lot of people actually long more for books like that take you through by season, because we are so lost when it comes to seasonality. And and with food too, like pretty much everything's always at the grocery store, but having a book like that to ground you back into what's normal is good.
Well, that's a very good point, and it hooks to the eternal Anglophile who's always reading across the pond, and I'm certainly that, and it's the sort of thing that accompanies the background of all those mysteries and memoirs that we love.
Lovely. Thank you. Andrea.
Thank you. So as we're approaching vacation read time, I wanted to talk about Moscow Exile, a Joe Wilderness novel by the great John Lawton. He writes spy thrillers, but as one trade reviewer says, it's an espionage. This is a series. It's an espionage series of uncommon depth and breadth, which is always nice, a little bit off the beaten track. John Lawton has a couple of series out there. One, the Joe Wilderness spy thriller, and then he has another character, what's his name? Inspector something. Where is it? Of course, it's going to be somewhere in my notes. The inspector shows up here as well, which is great. And but this is the fourth in this series, but it can be read. This is a great place to start, actually. The plots are standalones, which is always nice. And this bounces around between Red Scare era Washington, D.C. and a prison near it's a KGB prison near Moscow. So it takes you across the globe, and Lawton has been lauded like very like people, a lot of the critics think that he's in the upper echelons of spy writing, like you know, with the Le Carre, the Len Daytons, the Alan First, the you know, Philip Kerrs of the world. So that's pretty great to hear, and you gotta love that. That's a feather in his cap. Tom Nolan in the Wall Street Journal says Mr. Lawton's mordant wit is worthy of an Evelyn dark comedy. Wheels spin within wheels, and love occasionally conquers ambition in this capacious chronicle, which proves that high-level spycraft can be as dangerous as it is farcical. So there you go. This is a great little trade paperback at $18 to pick up for your vacation reading needs.
Sounds good.
Yeah, he's great, and you know, as I mentioned, it's got some depth to it, a little literary flavor, but the pace, it's really pacey though too. So, and excellent dialogue.
Nice. Tom, bring it home.
All right, I have the perfect lightning round pick because it's paperback out tomorrow. Jay Ryan Stradles, Saturday night at the Lakeside Supper Club. Everyone knows how much I love Jay Ryan. This is his third novel. Supper clubs are a very specific kind of Midwestern mix of restaurant and bar and anyway, and they've changed over the decades. And so this is about 3 generations of strong women from the 1930s to the present, all told, their lives intertwined with the Lakeside Supper Club. So it's just great. I mean, Jay Ryan's characters, he writes women so well, you fall in love with the characters. And I love how the deeper he dives into the regional, the more universal the books are. So pick it up for your, you know, if you didn't get it in hardcover, get it in paperback, perfect for book clubs. Just sink right into his world and you won't be sorry. So Saturday night at the Lakeside Supper Club.
Darcy says, a Minnesota book. Great
Yeah,
book.
it's a Minnesota book, right. Supper clubs seem to be mostly Wisconsin and Minnesota. But the book is set in Minnesota, yeah. But you don't have to be from Minnesota to love Jay Ryan's books.
Oh, no.
And of course, I mentioned the supper club, but food is an essential part of all of food and drink, an essential part of all of his books. It's about how we connect, how these characters connect. They all connect with food and drink.
Hot dishes.
Yes.
Awesome. We came in at 1 minute past the hour, which is rather amazing, I think. What a range of books. Thank you so much. I wanted to mention a couple of virtual events really quickly. Tomorrow we're selling tickets to it is a pre-recorded event, but it's the only airing that will happen of an event with Salman Rushdie, who is discussing his book, Knife, Meditations After an Attempted Murder. Yeah, there was an attempt on his life in 2022, and
He's such a drama queen.
I mean,
Fatwa, knivings, come on, man.
like I can't, I don't even, like 30 years of having like a, you know, a call out for your death, and then something happens, and like I think a lot of people might have a trauma like that happen and just retreat. Nah, he's like, I'm gonna write another book. Here you go.
I'm gonna go right at it. Yeah. He was on 60 Minutes last night. It was an amazing interview.
Yeah, and I heard he will also be on Stephen Colbert tonight. So if you're interested, the link is in the comments. And then a more fun virtual event. We are partnering with Simon & Schuster to present what they're calling the Author Fest. And it will have some really fun authors. The one I'm very excited about is Kaylin Bradley, who wrote this book called The Ministry of Time, which comes out in May. And this is the one I mentioned. If you liked Addie LaRue, I think you will love this book. So
People
that's
are going bananas for that book.
it's
very exciting.
It's amazing. Like it takes so many different genres, like all the schmaltz of like Star Trek and like time travel, and then Victorian romance. But then it has it's set in like a near future London, takes on some very serious issues, but it's also just fun. And so anyway, if you're interested in that, the event is on Wednesday the 24th, and it's free to attend, and I will put the registration link in the comments here as well. So that's it. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to all of you for coming out today, and yeah, backing
Be
me up.
careful what you wish for.
I love it. It's amazing.
Get a plague of reps instead.
So good. Thank you. Okay, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Bye.
Hi, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah.